Welcome back to another day of offshore adventures, inshore adventures too. We have Captain Scott McHenry on the wheel. What are you thinking for today, Scott?
You know, Joey, we're riding out the storm. Decided to come over to the Abacos to have a good trip away from the storm, but we've been getting blown out every day, but we're making the best of it.
There's still been stuff to do, staying shallow.
We're gonna tuck in behind some islands and do a little spearfishing, and we'll get back to you when we're done.
But on the way down, I saw a spot. We're riding and I'm like, look at that in the distance over there. And normally they don't want to stop at my stuff, but we stopped. And what was there?
I had every bit of faith in Joey's secret spot.
What about you?
I can't handle any of what's happening right now.
We'll show you what we found, and then we're gonna get out to do some spearfishing out a little bit deeper. The stop we made was for these guys. This is in shallow water. This is a big grass ledge, and it was loaded with crawfish. Now, crawfish, what they call them in the Bahamas, it's what we call in Florida spiny lobster. Now, spiny lobster season in the Bahamas, or crawfish season in the Bahamas, kicks off in August, and they are an absolutely delicious little critter right there. Now, you can see I'm using kind of like a Florida technique. In the Bahamas, you can spear them. This technique is called a snare. And it takes some getting used to, and there's definitely a little trick to it. You kind of tickle them out from where they are, whether it be a grass ledge or a rock bottom or wherever they are, and then you open up the loop behind them and get them to walk into it somehow, whether it's moving the snare forward or getting the lobster to walk backwards, and then you cinch it down real tight on the tail. And this is the way I like to catch them, especially recently. Even though we are allowed to shoot them, it lets you be a little more selective. If you want to let them go, you can let them go. If they have eggs, you can let them go without shooting them. And it's a lot more fun. I mean, we're only allowed 10 lobsters per boat, so that's not that many. And when I say that's not that many, I don't mean that I think you should be able to keep a ton more, but I mean it's not hard to get 10 decent lobster in the Bahamas. I mean, look how many are in this ledge right here. They're crammed upside down sideways, 2 lobsters deep, and I'm just kind of scraping them out of the ledge right there because I want to see sizes. We want to pick some better ones, and that's what we're doing right here. I'm using the snare, tickling them out. Connie and Mike are in the water with me as well, and you can see there's 6 or 7 just in that frame alone that we've scooted out from underneath the grass ledge, and then using the snare to be kind of selective and picking the ones we want to invite home for dinner. I'll show you the snare one more time before we get into doing something different. Now you'll see here I'm moving the snare with the lobster, trying to position it behind it, because if you do some kind of movement that the lobster doesn't like, it's going to kick off and get away. Now luckily for us in the grass ledges, there ain't a whole lot of places they can get away to. So I think we picked off 4 or 5 lobsters there, and now we're out on the reef. We're looking to do some spearfishing. I'm armed with my Head Hunter Gorilla Sling. It's kind of like an underwater slingshot. It shoots a spear, and I've kind of modified it a little bit to my liking. Here's my first target of the day. This was actually my first dive right here. Beautiful hogfish, not a trophy, but again, we always like to get some kind of fish for dinner. We got no fish, we got lobster, so we're not starving, but we got a delicious hogfish now, and it kind of got hung up a little bit right there, and I was on my way up, and I didn't see that fish at first. I took a blind drop swimming around the reef and turned the camera off, and then saw the hogfish, turned the camera on, and ended up getting the video of the hogfish right as he came in. Got a good holding shot on him, just behind the gills. It wasn't coming out, it wasn't a bad meat shot, and Scotty was there to back me up and retrieve the sling, which is a huge deal because sharks are always an issue pretty much everywhere we spear, but especially in the Bahamas. Don't want to take any chances being so far from any kind of help. Now that's a decent sized hogfish. Not a big one, not a small one, but definitely a delicious one. Small one to start us off, at least.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
First hogfish of the day. Not very clear. We got a lot of clean water because, like I said, we've had a lot of wind lately. But I did a dive down just to kind of check it out. First drop down on the head. And then when I turned the camera on, he was kind of rounding the corner already. Gave me the typical hogfish shot. Hit him with the Head Hunter Sling. Slip tip engaged right there. Liking it. It was a whole lot nicer under the water than it was above the water. That wind was just howling and there wasn't a lot of good shooting fish around. I was pretty pumped up after getting that hogfish on my first drop, but besides seeing some stuff like this, like a smaller size Nassau grouper, which I was just kind of filming, didn't really want to shoot him. I don't shoot a ton of Nassau's. And then there was another, I mean, we saw tons of hogfish, but they're all small hogfish. We had a decent one already. We didn't need a bunch of little hogfish. We were looking for those 10, 12 pounders that we've become accustomed to seeing over the last several years. And I don't know if it's because of the storm or what was going on, but the diving was definitely off. And this wasn't just a one-day thing. I was there for a couple weeks, and there was not a lot of good diving the whole time I was there. Not a lot of good opportunities, I should say, the whole time I was there. But here's a fish I did want to take a shot on. I got the sling ready, about to cock back on it, and it's not the hogfish. You're going to see a hogfish come into frame, but then there's a grouper, and it's not the normal groupers we see. We see a lot of Nassau's and strawberries and blacks and yellowfins and stuff like that, but this is a tiger grouper, and I don't think I've ever shot one on my channel before. And it's a really cool, unique looking fish. It wasn't very big, so that's why I wanted to harvest it. Tiger groupers don't get big. So if you do get a decent sized tiger grouper, it's a really old fish, which means it's got a better chance of having ciguatera. So I would definitely shy away from the bigger ones and stick with tiger groupers more in this size range. Once I got my hands on the grouper, I pulled the spear out of it, and then I put my dive knife in it for a couple reasons. It kills the fish instantly, less suffering, and then makes it safer for us in the boat, and you're not going to lose your fish. It's not going to get away. Now, the diving was horrible. We decided to quit after a short 6 hours of swimming around nonstop. We saw lots of stuff like this again. Little hogfish, beautiful conditions. I can swim it forever, but we weren't seeing big shooters. So on the way in, we stopped by a different grass ledge where I found a good fish to shoot, a really good shooting fish. You can see I got the sling in the right hand and the lobster snare in the left. Again, we can keep a few more lobsters to get our limit of 10, and we're just kind of tickling them out of the ledge, looking for the bigger ones. And I'm getting the snare behind this one. You'll see what I was talking about, where if you do something the lobster doesn't like, it kind of kicks backwards and moves really quick. And if you're around reef, it can get into a spot that makes it very hard to get out. But luckily for me, it does a nice little snap, and I'm still able to get right behind it, no problem, because there isn't really anywhere it can go. Even though it seems like I'm really focused on the lobster here, at all times I'm looking out in the distance because all this commotion attracts a certain fish that can be pretty hard to spear at times. But once you get them in that feeding mode, that chummed up mode, even the sound the lobsters make is enough to call these fish in. It's a really fun fish to shoot, and especially fun in the shallows. I got one lobster on me already. I got the snare behind this one and can bring that one in. Slide my hand down. I have gloves on, which is a big deal because these are incredibly spiky lobsters. That's why they're called the spiny lobster. Now, the fish that I'm looking for, you probably could guess what comes in from it, but if you don't know what it is, you'll see it in a minute or so. But we're going through some lobsters. Connie's catching some, Mike's catching some, Scott's kind of throwing the small ones back, letting them go, making sure we keep just our limit. And I'm scraping them out of the ledges, looking for some bigger ones, and they're all mostly the same size now. As I'm scraping them out, they're going down the ledge, so I'm probably finding some of the same lobsters over and over. But it's a blast. You can see that one right there. He's shot out the ledge, moved 10, 12, 15 feet down the ledge, and then we get another shot at him. Lobsters aren't the only thing hanging around these grass ledges, though, because there's another tasty critter, and this is something we are not allowed to keep at all in Florida, and that's the conch. Conchs are absolutely delicious. Now they can be really tricky if you don't know how to get them out of the shells or how to fillet them, but lucky for me, Shaw at the Bluff House is going to give me a lesson when we get back to the dock. We just needed to get a few conchs, and I believe the limit is 6 conchs. And you watch the Bahamians do it. They open them up, no problem. I have yet to try it, but I got my lesson. That comes up at the end of the video. And getting them out of the conch shell is not the hard part. Filleting them, it's not hard. I don't think any of it's actually hard. Just technique and learning how to do it. That's being said, I've never done it still, but
conch in there.
I'm going to give it a shot next time because now I've learned how to do it. Now let's show you the fish I was talking about. If you haven't guessed what it is, here you go. It's a mutton snapper. Muttons can be a very hard fish to shoot, but once they get curious, they become a lot easier, but this is still going to be a really long shot. I let the sling fly, and like I said, I have my sling rigged up pretty different than your granddaddy's sling. This is a slip tip shaft. It does have a slide ring with some mono leader on it, and then I even have that clipped onto a belt reel so I don't have to let it go. And really the main reason I use the belt reel is in case a shark grabs my fish, I don't lose my sling. On a big fish, like if I've shot cobia at home with it, I use the reel so I can pull the fish back in, or the sling shooting line so I can pull the fish back in. But for this fish, I could have let it go. It wouldn't have got away. But wait till you see how the slip tip engaged. If it was a flopper shaft, I don't think I would have landed this fish. It was just in the skin of the fish. I knew they saw me swimming around all fast like a crazy person, so I held it up to show them my delicious little mutton snapper. Not little, it's a good sized mutton, really good sized mutton, especially for up on the flats. And like I did with that little grouper earlier, I got that sword dive knife, brained him so that I could kill him and make sure he doesn't get away. Also, so he doesn't flop around, spine anyone in the boat, because snappers have very sharp spines going down their back and underneath. Look at that slip tip.
Oh my gosh.
Just skin.
Get it up. Dang, Jojo.
Muttons from the sling. Shallow water muttons. That slip tip was barely in there too. I just cut a little bit of skin and it came right out.
What are you doing today, Jojo?
We're diving.
Having mutton but fun.
Mutton but fun going on today. There was one more thing we had to do. There was a little piece of structure here, had a bunch of little snappers on it, but more importantly, it had big puffers on it. You can kind of corner a puffer fish, they're not really that fast. They aren't really fast at going side to side for sure. And I got a good little grip on this one. Once you grab them, they inflate. They're inflating while they're in the water. Most people have held a puffer fish out of the water. In the water, it's a little different because they're inflating with water. So this fish is the size of a basketball full of water. It's super heavy. And Connie wanted a puffer fish to play with, so went ahead and got one for her.
It's sharp, so you gotta hold them like carefully. Yeah. She's gonna hit you.
About to hit the fillet table. Actually, the mutton we're gonna pack and bring home, I think. But there's that hog from earlier in the day. First drop of the day. Thought we were gonna have hogfish everywhere. Little did I know, this was the only one. Is your finger in front of the lens?
No.
I mean, it looks like it is from here, but maybe that's a different lens. There's 16 lenses on these phones now. There you go, hogfish. Oh my god, I knew you were gonna do that, you sicko.
If you don't eat it, you're not gonna have a strong back.
So that's the fast part, getting them out of there.
Yeah, I'll show you the other part. I just want to
Yeah.
get out.
show. Wait,
Okay.
what part do you eat? All of it?
The
or
whole
just
thing.
like
It's a
it?
pistol. Just take the whole thing down.
Like a noodle.
Like a noodle.
Like a noodle.
Suck it in.
Don't choke on it.
I don't know if I can do this.
Did you do it? You already did it.
It just tastes really salty.
That's what we had.
I'll leave it with you. Cheers.
I'm just gonna put it in my mouth. A dick.
Conch red. Sweetest part of the conch.
You actually eat this?
Yeah. You actually eat this.
It's good. Don't worry. It doesn't
That's
taste
actually
bad.
really good.
Yeah, we already had that.
Tasted good? Yeah, me.
Yeah.
I already had it. Scotty.
Scott's gets some. Remember that hogfish that was swimming around like just a little bit ago?
And the lobster.
He ain't swimming anymore. Oh yeah, and then there's our lobsters. They're kind of gone now.
What it's really like being with Joey, fishing, his friend, any of the above. You take him to do all these cool things. You take him tuna fishing. We've showed him a ton of different stuff in different areas. And then the one time it gets windy, he takes you on Joey missions. And it's usually like one positive to about 50 fails with the amount of Joey missions I've been on. I'm about done with them, but Joey wants all the credit today, so he'll see this later because he's not even on the boat right now. I'm actually chasing his little pink snorkel. For once in Joey's life, he took us to Joey Mission 1, found a big old fish. Joey Mission 2, found some of the most lobster I've ever seen in my life. Joey Mission 3, dropped down, shot a hog. So here you go, Joey. Here's your big time to shine. You did it. Neat.